Welcome back to the days. Today we will learn about the shockwaves from Johnny DiMera's trial and the stunning confession that set Salem buzzing from the courthouse steps to the DiMera mansion's darkest corners. Courtroom shock. Kristen DiMera crashed Johnny's trial and admitted she was the one who shot EJ, abruptly derailing proceedings and forcing the judge to halt the verdict in a moment that left counsel, family, and jurors breathless. The judge ordered Kristen into custody on attempted murder after an in-chambers explanation that she fired during a heated clash with EJ, wiped the weapon, and hid it, an account that freed Johnny but placed Kristen on the fast track to interrogation and a jail cell. Brothers at odds. In the aftermath, EJ spelled out to Chad that Kristen publicly confessed to shooting him, but Chad balked, insisting the story simply doesn't add up. A brotherly standoff that mirrored Salem's wider skepticism. EJ then hedged and stonewalled, throwing Chad off the scent while privately calculating the damage to the family brand and to his already brittle ties with his son. Leo's red flags. Leo Stark echoed the doubt, labeling the confession too convenient. A crisp read that captured how neatly Kristen's story tied off the trial at the precise 11th hour when Johnny needed relief. As jury foreman and gossip connoisseur, Leo's instinct for narrative seems matters. When even Leo calls out convenient timing, Salem listens and reevaluates the so-called resolution. The Rachel factor. Emerging spoilers reveal a deeper motive. Kristen stepped up to protect Rachel, who is believed to have pulled the trigger during a trauma-clouded moment, a truth known to EJ and Marlena but concealed to spare Rachel further harm. With Marlena warning that sacrifice can scar a child long-term, Kristen doubled down anyway, choosing a mother's burden over a daughter's breakdown and daring the system to catch up with the emotional reality. Marlena's dilemma. Marlena, torn between clinician and grandmother, agreed to shield Rachel and stabilize her panic, even as she cautioned that a false confession is a psychological time bomb that can explode later in guilt and fractured trust. The working hypothesis is dissociative amnesia. Rachel's mind blocked the traumatic memory of the shot, which could resurface under the pressure of losing Kristen to Statesville and watching the adults rewrite the past in real time. Brady's confrontation. Brady raced to Kristen's cell demanding answers, convinced her move would wreck Rachel's fragile recovery and redefine their fractured family for the worse. Unable to reveal the real reason, Kristen layered lie upon lie, while Brady's ire collided with paternal terror. How can he protect Rachel from both legal fallout and psychological whiplash if the truth stays buried? Verdicts and consequences. Johnny walked free as the judge dismissed the case following Kristen's confession, embracing Chanel in a cathartic release that still left EJ on the outside of his son's circle. The price of freedom was steep. Johnny's relief mixed with anger at EJ's hedging, and EJ recognized that salvation via secret may cost him a son's trust more than any prison sentence ever could. Media spin and DiMera optics. Chad, covering the trial as a reporter, smelled a narrative manufactured for expediency, especially with his sister at the center and his brother as the silent beneficiary. EJ, meanwhile, juggled DiMera optics, publicly cool, privately calculating, because a family empire can survive scandal, but not a scandal that keeps changing shape each news cycle. The confession dissected. Kristen's chamber speech framed the shooting as accidental in the heat of argument, a legal gambit that fits negligent endangerment tropes but clashes with the meticulous wipe and hide behavior that suggests post-incident calculation. A prosecutor will highlight that dichotomy, accident versus cleanup, while a defense will underscore panic, maternal instinct, and a trauma-scrambled recollection chain. Leo's juror vantage. From the jury box, Leo watched testimony cadence and saw how the confession yanked the rug from the jury's deliberative rhythm, which was already hinging on reasonable doubt rather than certainty. His too convenient critique is more than shade. It flags a procedural rupture that begs for a post-verdict inquiry into external pressures, off-record deals, or family-driven interference. Brady versus Kristen, Round 2. Post-arrest, Brady's line of attack was moral and paternal. How does choosing prison help Rachel, and how many lies can one household absorb before the floor gives way? Kristen countered with a mother's calculus. Better a contained legal lie than a catastrophic truth that brands Rachel for life, staking her future on the hope that love can outrun discovery. Marlena's clinical map. Marlena's plan is short-term stabilization and long-term reintegration. Reduce triggers, prevent re-traumatization, and allow memory fragments to surface safely if they must. But the longer a false public narrative persists, the more dissonance Rachel must navigate, raising the risk of abrupt recall and a spiral of guilt that complicates therapy. EJ's impossible choice. EJ stands at a three-way moral fork: protect Rachel, honor Johnny's name, or defend the DiMera brand. And any route he picks alienates someone he loves. He already tried to control the weather by deflecting Chad, but storms like this outrun even DiMera strategy, leaving EJ to decide if truth is a scalpel or a sledgehammer. Kristen's gamble explained. The maternal shield strategy assumes the legal system will treat a seasoned adult offender more predictably than a traumatized teen, and that time gives Rachel room to heal before facts resurface. It also banks on Marlena's clinical stewardship and EJ's public restraint, a fragile alignment where one angry press conference or leak can collapse the entire cover. The Gwen-Leo chill. Away from the courthouse, Leo's brush with civic duty ended, but Gwen delivered an icy reminder that personal betrayals still collect interest long after the gavel falls. Her "enjoy it while it lasts" warning about Leo's budding happiness was a Salem refrain. Every reprieve here is provisional, and debts always come due. Spoiler drumbeat. Weekly previews underline the citywide skepticism and hint that Rachel's voice could ultimately pierce the confusion, redirecting legal fire and emotional fallout in one breath. Meanwhile, updates tease downstream consequences for Kristen's incarceration prospects and a slow-burn interrogation of who knew what and when inside the DiMera orbit. If Rachel remembers. Speculation centers on 6 pivotal words: "I shot EJ, not my mom." A tearful reveal that could blow open the case narrative, upend charges, and test whether Salem's justice prefers clean lines or messy truths. If memory returns publicly, Marlena's support will be critical, and Brady will pivot instantly from accuser to shield, pressing prosecutors for diversion options and therapeutic frameworks over punitive measures. Johnny's new chapter. Johnny's freedom doesn't erase scars. The young filmmaker leaves court with his name cleared but his family mythos cracked, wary of any victory that relies on a lie to stand upright. Chanel's embrace anchors him to the present, yet Johnny's art thrives on truth, and that tension could fuel his next project or his next confrontation with EJ. What comes next? Expect Brady to keep grilling Kristen as he triangulates with Steve and Marlena for any path that protects Rachel without martyring Kristen indefinitely. Also watch for EJ to tighten his circle, manage leaks, and test whether silence heals or hollows. Because in Salem, secrets don't keep, they hatch. Gabby's shocking new romance. From Xander's heartbreak to Philip's arms. In the ever-turbulent world of Days of Our Lives, no one ever stays in one place for too long, emotionally or romantically. Relationships blossom, collapse, and rekindle in ways that continually keep Salem's residents, and its loyal viewers, on the edge of their seats. The latest twist involves none other than Gabby Hernandez, played by Sherry Jimenez, who has once again proven that she is a woman of fierce independence, quick decisions, and undeniable allure. After her dramatic breakup with Xander Cook, Paul Telfer, a breakup that shook her deeply but did not destroy her, Gabby has wasted no time in moving forward. Instead of retreating into sorrow, she has stepped boldly into a new chapter of her life, one that is already raising eyebrows across Salem. And who is the man who has captured her attention now? None other than Philip Kiriakis, John Paul Lavoisier, a man with his own complicated history, family baggage, and a reputation that is both alluring and dangerous. From heartbreak to heat, the ending of Gabby and Xander's relationship was not a quiet affair. Their romance had been passionate but tumultuous, filled with power struggles, mistrust, and the constant shadow of past betrayals. Xander, as fans know, has never been the simplest of men to love. His temper, his questionable choices, and his inability to leave behind his darker instincts often made life with him difficult. For Gabby, who is no stranger to drama herself, the final straw came when she realized she could no longer reconcile her future with a man who seemed destined to keep sabotaging it. Their breakup, though painful, seemed inevitable. But while many expected Gabby to lick her wounds for at least a little while, she stunned everyone with how quickly she turned her attention elsewhere. Enter Philip Kyriakis. Handsome, smooth-talking, and a Kyriakis through and through, Philip has always had a way of drawing women into his orbit. And though his life is rarely free of scandal or family power struggles, Philip carries himself with a sense of charm that can be nearly impossible to resist. It didn't take long for sparks to ignite between Gabby and Philip, and, as Salem gossip spreads like wildfire, the two have already crossed the line from flirtation to something far more intimate. A morning after to remember. The morning after their passionate night together, Gabby and Philip found themselves facing the reality of what they had done. For Gabby, the scene was both familiar and strange. She woke up beside a man who carried the weight of his family name, yet she didn't hesitate to greet him with playful intimacy. "Good morning," she whispered, her voice filled with both warmth and curiosity. Philip, still processing the whirlwind of emotions that had swept them together, responded with a short, almost reluctant, "Yeah, hi." His tone suggested he was caught between satisfaction and uncertainty, unsure of what their night meant, or what it might become. For longtime fans, this exchange carried the weight of history. Gabby has always been a woman who knows her worth, but she has also been a woman who sometimes dives headfirst into dangerous waters. Philip, for his part, has a track record that makes many wonder. Is this simply a rebound fling for Gabby, or is she about to entangle herself in a web far more complicated than she realizes? Family ties and confessions. Of course, Salem is a place where nothing stays private for long. Gabby wasted little time before sharing her newest development with her cousin Javi, Al Calderon. In a moment of excitement, she hinted at her latest romantic triumph, leaving Javi both shocked and intrigued. "Okay, you have to tell me everything," Javi insisted, eager to hear every detail. But Gabby's response was far more hesitant than expected. Instead of bragging about her conquest or declaring her new relationship with pride, she admitted something that revealed the depth of her inner conflict. "I don't know which side I'm on between the two of them," she confessed. This moment was telling. Gabby's heart and mind are not yet fully aligned. On one hand, she has walked away from Xander, determined to cut ties with a man whose instability has hurt her too many times. On the other hand, Philip's presence in her life is not as simple as it seems. He, too, brings baggage, family rivalries, personal insecurities, and the constant demands of living under the Kyriakis name. Gabby is caught between two men who represent two very different paths, and for perhaps the first time, she does not know which direction her future will take. The drama ahead. For viewers, this twist in Gabby's love life is more than just another romance. It is a turning point that could affect multiple families and storylines in Salem. Gabby's decision to move on with Philip is not simply a matter of attraction. It is a move that could ignite old feuds and open fresh wounds. The Demaras, the Kyriakises, and everyone connected to Xander will surely have something to say about this shocking new union. Moreover, Philip's own role in this story is far from settled. While he may have been swept into passion with Gabby, it remains to be seen whether his feelings are genuine, or whether his motives carry the same strategic undertones that often define the Kyriakis men. Will Philip truly commit to Gabby, or will she find herself betrayed once again, caught in a cycle of heartbreak she has tried so hard to escape? A woman at a crossroads. What makes Gabby's latest storyline so captivating is the vulnerability beneath her strength. She is a woman who has always prided herself on control, strategy, and ambition. Yet in matters of the heart, she often finds herself pulled in directions she cannot easily manage. Her confession to Javi, that she doesn't know whose side she's on, underscores this reality. It is not just about choosing between Xander and Philip. It is about choosing who she wants to be. Will she remain the fiery, determined woman who refuses to settle for less than she deserves? Or will she once again fall victim to the chaos and deception that so often define Salem's romances? One thing is certain, Gabby Hernandez is not done surprising us. Her latest move may have shocked Salem, but for those who know her best, it is just another step in her relentless pursuit of love, power, and self-discovery. As the story continues to unfold, one can only imagine the ripple effects her decisions will have, not just for her, but for the families and friends who are inevitably caught in the crossfire of her passionate choices.